Y no voté absentí.
He can't repeat that. He can't repeat that again.
Quiero votar.
Best thing is that he's smoking
No
too
hay
fast
algún
though.
fallo.
No, you should know
Bueno,
better.
no.
Hey, excuse me, sir, can you pass me that phone?
Nada, yo soy bruta.
Oh, you idiot. What are you gonna do?
No me cae bien que entre a eso, yo no sé lo que
Ya.
pasó en la
Sí.
Look where you
Sí.
because
Okay. Okay, bye.
And I still talk.
How are you?
sorry for starting.
Huh? Yeah, I don't, bueno, he spent all day there, el día del Halloween preparation, all these guys.
Oye, los pastelitos.
Yeah.
Pero trae...
Yo no he comido, yo tengo un hambre.
How did Freddie do?
We're gonna
He was
have to
having
get a
too much
pizza or
fun
something.
being in
Like
that.
Rhonda always is.
Oh, he just
Maybe the city can Springfield. Get a
He
couple
just showed
of
up dressed up.
Certo.
deli.
Where's the breakfast?
That was
Have you
not-
been
that
there
was
again?
not-
They sold
wasn't
it.
planned.
No, they're,
Ay, gracias.
it got
Where
so
you got
bad
When
that
I
people
told him.
actually stopped buying.
Uh-huh.
So now they're back and they're
Because cambiaron de dueño.
not sort of.
He started foaming.
Pizza
Deli.
deli.
Pizza deli.
That one was good.
Yeah, it was at the
You
beginning.
was-
They-
I walked in,
Pero
on the
Pizza Hut es
haunted
bueno,
house.
They
podemos
straightened it
Just
out.
like
Lo
if
podemos
you
pedir
just
de
go
Pizza
out
Hut.
there,
Uno.
and I was with my mom, oh, that's Freddie.
Yeah,
I think that's Freddie. I was like,
And
El señor es un
Where
peruano.
was the
Pero
same?
este que compró.
Now he's got a partner.
I don't think he took off
Una
the
Just
casa
started.
creo que americana.
Bro, he took it
Okay.
off once in front of me.
When he
The
came
layer
in
of
and
sweat
started
in
making
that
his
house.
pizza, shit, he
Estaba
lost
apagado,
a
¿verdad?
lot of customers. Now she took her in as a partner, and now they're back on track.
Ah, bueno.
Pizza place?
Pizza,
Pizza deli.
The pizza deli.
Eso lo había
Place to be
comprado
going.
una
Our place?
muchacha and then she sold it, I
Yes,
guess,
they
to
went.
this family or this gentleman. Y ellos se fueron. I think they're in North Carolina or South
Pero podemos pedir de
Carolina.
Pizza Hut.
And this guy took it over.
Que
And
pizza
the
Hut,
pizza
que
was
pizza
great,
Hut.
but I haven't seen him there. Is he gone again now?
Oh, what?
The pizza guy.
Which
Are
one?
we talking about the pizza place in
Vamos a
57?
Yeah.
No,
No,
Cerdo.
barber shop.
Yeah, pizza
Over here,
deli.
huh?
Pizza deli.
Pizza deli.
The one right here in
Ya tú estás
Westchester.
Ay, que no vi la...
Hi, John.
That's downstairs. They gave it people.
I don't
Ok,
even know where
ya
I'm at.
empezamos ya.
We're right over here.
They have a line and they were giving out pizza.
All right. So we're gonna commence this meeting. Today is November 2nd, 2022. It's 6:04 p.m. This is the workshop for the Park and Recreation Advisory Board.
Okay, so meeting's called to order for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge of Allegiance. Have my father here start us off.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item.
We're in hell of a delay, huh?
Yeah.
That's a good thing in case I go crazy or something.
Mayor Eric
How'd you
Diaz-Padrón
guess?
running late, Vice Mayor Blanes, present, Commissioner Blanca,
Yes.
present, Commissioner Chavez Jr., present, Commissioner Suarez, is absent, members of the Recreation Committee.
Hey, I'm here.
So you guys-
Ya tengo.
No,
There's a
Yeah,
delay, there's a
yeah,
delay.
you're on
Oh.
delay to reaction.
Committee Chair Ivan Chavez Jr. present, Miguel Casanova,
Present.
Ivan Chavez Sr.,
Here.
Alexander Diaz,
Here.
Zachariah Evangelista is absent, Marcos Lopez,
Here.
Maria Elena Salazar absent. You have quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. Meeting was already called to order. I'm sorry. I was reading up a book.
Yes, old business,
Old business.
none.
Next item.
Yes, four under new business, for a discussion and review of capital improvement plan for Recreation Center and Cooper Park.
All right. So, what we have, I wanted to ask Madam Manager, 'cause I remember having these from the last meeting.
Yes.
Do we have any more of these?
Did we make copies of the one that's highlighted in blue?
No.
No?
I don't have it.
How many? 10?
Make 12 one, please.
So these here were specific to the parks, correct?
Let me go through that again.
I don't have anything blue.
Okay,
He's gonna bring
this
it
is the
up.
10-year capital improvement plan that we had based on what we adopted per the comp plan,
Right.
okay? So this is the same thing, it's just in another format. And this will give you a rundown of all the projects that are either in the pipeline getting addressed now or those that have been completed.
So those that are in the pipeline here that aren't on here, it's not because we moved on from them.
No,
right?
it's because we either completed them and they're off the chart.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay, like recreation center, we're in the middle right now of the construction of the 3,000 square foot building for the weight room facility. So that's done with LWCF money and impact fees.
Perfect. And then, so for example, the basketball court roof system, that
Right.
it's not on here, that doesn't mean that we nixed that idea, right?
No, it doesn't mean that you nixed it, it just simply means that it's identified, but we haven't had the money to address that. And when we did, I don't know if you all may remember, Vice Mayor, the proposals or the estimated cost of the roof overhang over the basketball courts were something close to $1 million.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, it was a pie in the sky.
yep.
Question. In regards to the weight room, that lady that you told me that lives here, that has a very broad knowledge of gyms.
Anna Ramond.
Have you reached out to
I
her?
had reached out to her, and since the other meeting got canceled, she's actually in North Carolina right now. That's why I didn't press the issue with her. She would be very good to come in and tell us what it's going to take to run the wellness center in terms of equipment. What is our best option, either to purchase equipment
Or to lease.
or lease equipment, as Alex mentioned at a prior meeting. So, and she could give you, based on the square footage, what we should and should not have, what's a liability, what isn't, the distance between the machinery, all that could potentially lead to the safety of the people who use the weight room.
How about using her as a point of reference or contact to reach out to, you know, big companies that that run gyms,
Yep.
see if they have excess equipment or equipment that they don't want to
Thank you.
use and they want to donate. I mean, is there?
She used to be the regional manager for LA Fitness for a long time. I'm talking about her experience in this industry goes back about 35, 40 years. She lived in the city many, many years. Her parents passed away within the last 5 years, so she sold that house. She lives one block outside her city limits. But she's very well versed on this. She went into the real estate market because obviously she's not 20 years old anymore, and so
Well, let's tap her.
Yes.
So all the knowledge that she's
Yes.
got, maybe there's a place or there's an entity that we can go and ask for maybe donate equipment or at a significant discount or a significant
Donation.
Yeah, like
a
donation.
matter of fact, I just sent an email to Juan and Robert Ruano today, a reminder email, because we were notified that there's a grant opportunity through, I don't know if is it a not-for-profit? I don't know if you took a look at what I sent you today. But there is, if you would give me 1 minute, I just addressed this. There is a fitness court grant funding opportunity that came our way, just in case we were interested. It's called the National Fitness Campaign.com. And so I asked Robert and Juan to get together just moments ago and find out if we could apply for a grant, because these people do fund projects in the city of Miami. It's an organization. So, you know, we're gonna look at grants, we're gonna look at donations, we're gonna look at partnerships, sponsorships, you know. I just heard that people get paid thousands of dollars just to have a little plaque under their name when they donate money. Remember Robert Suris from the estate companies?
Yep.
He had a building at Belén named after him, and I don't know how many millions of dollars he donated to Belén, either through companies or a company donation. So those are things that we could look into, and we can actually order plaques recognizing, you know, the level of
We
donation.
can ask the police chief to talk to Mark.
Good.
Everything, including
Everything.
the kitchen sink, man. We gotta
Absolutely.
guerrilla warfare.
Mm-hmm.
Try everything.
So I think we go through the comp plan item by item.
I would have, Mr. Penna, if you would go through it. I think that he's the best suited individual to talk to you about this, where we're going, why we put it in there in the first place, and, you know, how we've been able to come across these grants, and I'll pitch in if I have to, but I think he's a good source. And by the way, the rec center weight room is 4,000 square feet. The prior
Right.
one, the prior list, the one that we generated in the beginning says 3,000. So we went to a 4,000 square foot facility.
Yeah, as you can see from the 2015-2020 schedule, a lot of the stuff that's on here has already been done, and that's why we need to update the capital improvement plan for 2020 through 2030. I moved over the items that we are still working on or haven't done, and also some items that have always been, this is a wish list at the end of the day. Doesn't mean that it's funded, it means that it can be funded, it might be funded. We put more or less what we figured today it costs. That means that the day that you're gonna build it, I think we had the addition at 500,000, and it's $1.2 million today.
Yeah.
So, it's, again, it's a wish list, and you tell the state this is your wish, and you go out and you more or less estimate where you're getting the funding from past experiences. And if they come true, fruition, great, we build it. If it doesn't, then we skip on down to the next one. We need this in order to be able to qualify for grants. If they don't see that you have a list, they ain't gonna score you on the grants because you don't have no plans. So what's in here now is more or less what I've been dealing with for the past 10 years. What else, like the splash pad and everything else that you thought of, the swimming pool and all that, that has to be added in here as a wish list
Right.
if in the future we're gonna go with it. Otherwise, there's no way you're gonna get funding for it,
Right.
unless it comes out of the city's pocket.
They also, the requirements of the comp plan have been watered down by the state a lot, to the point where we don't have to come up with a very expensive comprehensive plan amendment. I think what you're doing now at this level is what the state is going to require you to do to identify your priorities. But the process itself, from what I spoke to the Department of Economic Opportunity about a week ago, this says the process has been watered down, making it much easier for municipalities to update their comp plans without major expenses.
Our list usually is longer than this. I just
Right.
took out the facilities and everything else that we, like the
We're
public
done.
works facility, city hall facility, police, took all that out and just left recreation, so you guys would be focused on the recreation stuff. As you can see, it's very small, because we've done most of it, and what's still pending on this list has already been funded or in the process of being funded. So we need new ideas on where you want to take us.
Right. And with that in mind, I'd like to just, for the record and for the information of the members here, is sort of recap the amount of money that we have put into parks and recreation since the inception of the impact fees. We've spent over $3.2 million in upgrading our parks. So, you know, you may see a playground here, and, you know, these things are super expensive. The rubberized matting, everything that comes with it. I mean, it's just, municipal government is an expensive proposition when it comes to projects, you know.
The racquetball.
Just the shade structure that we put over
Oh,
the
yeah.
swings, that was a $50,000 item.
Yeah. The racquetball court.
And it was a hit, everybody
Oh
loved
my
it.
God,
Yeah.
everybody loves it.
Yeah,
It looks nice too.
Yeah.
yeah. The racquetball court, what are we doing with that?
You
Well,
haven't decided.
that's what you guys gotta decide. I heard some
Marcos, can we
knock
put
it
a
down.
pickleball in there? Pickleball? Because, man, that's hot.
That's
But the
hot.
tennis courts, they're gonna have
Then it
pickleball
comes
already.
with pickleball already.
Well, but nobody uses the racquetball
Right.
court. We can have an
I don't
additional.
know, I've been looking into it, I see a lot of people using it.
see a lot of people
more
using it?
than the tennis court in reality, if you look at it.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, all right,
If you spend
So
money,
you could
John?
stripe it to have multi-purpose in there.
okay.
I think if we proceed, sorry, John, I think if we go forward with our first intention of closing it up and air conditioning it, you'll get more use. Because during the daytime hours, it is
brutal,
an
yeah.
oven, a true brutal oven.
Yeah, between those four walls.
No,
Yeah.
we have 10 months of summer. I mean, that's the reality. You got maybe December and January are your coolest months here.
Would that be connected to the structure that's going up?
No,
So two separate AC units, or
Yeah,
are they
it'd
gonna
be
run
in
the
the-
ducting across?
no, it'd be a package unit, like what this is on the wall here.
Is there a way down the line to foresee it possibly being connected where you can be in the gym and then walk through, play racquetball, or see the racquetball?
It creates a bunch of fire access problems and stuff like that. So, I mean, even the building now that we're adding on, because of the way it's situated, we might have to leave a space in between them to just meet the fire requirements.
What do you call
Not
those-
only
those
that, that
bits?
would be a lot of money spent to add, you have the building and the restroom facilities,
Yeah,
right?
and the restrooms
So-
are at the end, so.
Just had a crazy idea. Are those skydiving simulators?
Hey, there's one in Davie. A
The
lot of
ones
people
that
use it.
are air, with air, and
I
it's,
don't know, man.
well, the
You know.
pickleball, I
What
don't
do you
know
think,
if
John?
you,
Right
Bungee
there, the
cords.
pocket park, it would look great.
Bungee? Oh, wait a minute.
look great right
How
there on
about
eight-
climbing? How about
on
those
18th is
walls
it?
that you
Rock
climb?
ay, ay, ay.
I saw that too as a way to
Is it high enough?
repurpose.
It's not high enough.
At Cooper, it would look really nice.
On the backside, maybe.
No, I'm talking about the racquetball.
Yeah, on the backside.
Yeah?
It might be to install one of those. that
Yeah, yeah.
kids
We've
do
come a
too.
long way since the days where Jim used to tell me everything was a liability to now, huh?
Yeah.
It is, well, some
Everything
things
is
are.
a
It's
Yeah.
still
It
a
is.
liability.
I'm not
but I
really
mean-
gonna fight him on these ideas that are going out right now. So.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, but we
I'll
gotta
be Jim
brainstorm
right now.
this.
So to-
The county had
Rock
a
climbing,
huge
yeah.
conversation yesterday, the Board of County
Nice
Commissioners,
to hear with you.
because I was looking at that issue that we just spoke about downstairs about the multifamilies, and they had just had a major discussion on pickleballs in Miami-Dade County, because the courts are packed and it's a moneymaker.
There's a European company in Miami just contracted with, they're bringing professional pickleball to Miami. Dade County, anyway.
Yep.
Pickleball is popular because just about anybody can play it and you can learn easy. It's not as hard as tennis. And, you know, it's a great workout and it's fun. It's a lot of fun. So,
Should we go through these items to see what?
You could go through the ones that are on here, and if you want to cross out whatever we're at, you know, that doesn't bother me.
So reference
Where you
this.
guys want to go.
So we're referencing this one, not this one. Then. 'Cause
No,
this has a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
finished projects.
All that
already.
old stuff is, what
Yeah.
was good,
I would refer
what was
to
left
this-
over in that old list is on the new list.
Right.
Well, because
The next 10 years.
The black
the
list.
basketball court roof is not on here.
The what?
The
No.
basketball court roof.
No, that was an idea that we had a long time ago, like they did at the
Yeah,
what's that
a
park
flag
over there?
Robert King.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it was very expensive, and
But should we leave it on there because
I don't
who
think.
knows what happens in the next 10 years?
But we moved forward from that, and we built the gym, the enclosed gym. So why would you want the basketball courts covered?
A lot. I mean, I've heard people request that too because you're playing on a covered basketball court. It's not just for.
No. Remember, yeah, it can be covered, but unlike what they did over there at that park, which they're still too low, the balls are bouncing and hitting the rafters.
Right, it has to be put up to a certain height.
And at
that's-
that point, you lose the shade that it's providing you and the thing, and you create a vacuum of noise in there that's spreading out to the sides.
And the price.
Yeah.
And the price. That's
And you got a
No,
couple of
the
people that
price
live around
today-
It's
there.
$1 million.
in today's,
But-
Yeah.
$1 million de
more
pesos
than that.
at today's
Yeah.
price.
more than that.
More than that, actually.
Today more, yeah.
Yeah.
But the price being, we could have it on here and never do it
Right.
because it gets too expensive. But if it's not here, we can't do it, right?
Right.
Correct.
Right.
So I'd
So let's
rather
keep
have
it.
it there and
I agree.
Move it back
We can
into
add
the
it.
list.
who knows if somebody down the line comes and says, "Hey, I want to help you guys."
I agree. Let's keep it in there.
Alex,
We gotta have a list anyway.
Steve moves into the neighborhood.
what's a list for if you're not gonna have things on?
Okay, so this one gets moved back in.
Move the shade structure back into this.
Somebody
Okay.
wins that $1 billion.
And price it at $1 million at
Me,
the
I'm
very
gonna
least.
donate it.
The Chavez Court.
No, I'm not into naming shit.
Oh, okay.
When I win the $1 billion, I'm just gonna come in, anonymously and tell
I'm
you guys,
on
okay, we're redoing the whole place.
You
just
just
told
paying
us
for
that.
it.
Name it after whoever.
I'll buy West Miami, man, shit.
No, you
I don't think you can afford it for $1 billion.
not anymore.
If you don't see us tomorrow
Well, you're not
morning,
gonna
you
get
know
a
what
Come on,
happened.
you all play down
You
here?
might get
Yes.
3 to 5
Powerball,
million.
do you
I should've
play
known to get
Powerball?
No, I'm saying,
I should've known
Throw
you
me on the
guys-
jugo.
buddy,
After taxes.
Everybody put $5.
a one-time payment,
When I
you
get out of
get
here,
400
when
So
million.
if the
It's
city
seven
hall,
horizons.
nobody
Yeah,
answers the
but-
phone in the morning, sayonara.
Hey, it's my dream,
When I
buddy.
get out of here, yes, send a picture to
Oh,
me.
yeah.
Hijack my
Oh,
brain.
there you go.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we should do it.
Bro, remember, I'm your best friend,
No,
okay?
no, you're that
Some
little
of
devil
Pero
guy.
ya drawing es a las 8 de la
He's a little
noche.
bad devil on this
Son
side.
las 6:20.
I don't listen to that guy.
So we've
Bueno,
gone,
tienen que ir
I
al
stopped
lado
partying that
comprando.
we've gone
Okay.
through this in the last meeting when we were looking at what grants to put in for. Does anyone else want to add anything that they've come up with since then?
I think you should add your pickleball in this, because at some point,
Isn't
But that's
And I
pickleball,
say-
that's under here,
tennis
right?
courts?
Resurfacing.
I think it was part of
Put
the
in for a
tennis court
grant
thing.
of resurfacing the tennis courts, and we're gonna have 2 pickleball courts added.
And the junior.
Yeah, but it's not in
Marco,
here.
No,
they,
but
they
not
can
in
do
here.
that,
You
right?
guys
They
gotta
can
approve it at
delineate-
some
you
point.
all have to
when they
decide whether
repaint
you
it.
Put the
want
lines
to
anywhere.
include your
So
pickleball.
include
They put
pickleball.
tape, it's a tape or paint.
So
Like
even though we
the
put
tape
in,
or paint.
even though we put in for
But
the
the tape
grant,
is for easier because you can put it
No,
and
no,
take
that
out.
grant is just to
You can put it
resurface the
anywhere.
tennis court.
Those
but
guys
that
are
was
playing
for
anywhere.
Resurfacing
readding,
is remarketing.
that was
Yeah,
to
but I'd
remarket
rather
to
have a
It's
court,
just
pickleball
too
courts.
easy to
because then you
remark.
have people
Exactly,
wanting to use
but
that
I
same
do
court
need
for
it in
tennis
here
and
for the,
for-
oh, with
And
to
then
go
you
along
get
with
into the schedule,
I got
so
you.
pickleball's
Yes, it needs to
pickleball.
be
Yeah,
added.
There's still gonna
Yeah,
be
so
2
resurface tennis courts to
in
include
the
Pickleball.
adding pickleball to the tennis
Yeah.
court.
And
And I think there was junior tennis courts in
There
the
was
design.
still,
There
Right.
was 2 regular size, a junior, and
And
That's it.
pickleball.
Four tennis
2
courts.
It
pickleball.
was, it's 2
Two
right
pickleball
now,
and a
and they're
junior.
gonna do 2 and a
One we
junior,
already
and
ordered.
2 pickleball.
or it
We
could
haven't
just
done
be the equivalent of 2 more pickleball, not a junior.
Yeah, but I can't
Two
remember.
pickleball.
Just keep, yeah.
It's
The
just
junior-
the room area, you don't have that much space there.
It was too little
Yeah.
much.
It fits in
there's one
the
court
tennis
or 2
instructor
courts?
did it. The idea is that
Because by
there's
getting rid of the
juniors
trees
using
in
the
the
court
middle,
all
we
the time
slid over
anyway.
the tennis
That'll
court,
free
and
up
then
one
added
of the
2
courts, the
pickleball and a
big
junior
courts.
court.
In Naples, they actually have the
Wouldn't it
tennis
be
courts
better
that are
to
marked
redo
both
the
ways.
racquetball?
That's what I was gonna say, a
court?
multi-purpose
But they
tennis
were,
court.
when we had talked
The
about
thing is that
dedicated
I've looked at
pickleball, one
the
of them was
racquetball
dedicated.
court, and I don't think it's
I would
big
rather
enough
have
for
it
pickleball.
dedicated just because you have the
Because
conflict
the
of,
square
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
racquetball
You
is
come
probably
to
the
play
size of the
this, but then
court,
there's people
but you have
playing
to stand
that.
outside the square to
We don't have that many hours
you're
in
already
the
hitting
day
the wall.
open there.
Pickleball's fun, man. Even though, even
Yeah,
though
no,
it's
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Looking at,
Tropical Park is packed.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
hey,
Good evening.
My
Hello.
brother plays almost every day now.
the pickleball, the racquetball court, I don't think it's big enough for pickleball. I looked at it when I was there the other day, and
Hey,
there's
Jim, how
not
are
enough
you?
space to serve, to stand outside the square to serve and stuff.
But it's just gonna be one there by itself.
Right.
and It's gonna, you
So do
can,
they need to resurface the racquetball court or like repaint it? And
yes.
I think if we're gonna keep that structure, then the idea that Mr. Pena had before of enclosing it, AC and all
And
The
that.
putting
racquetball-
it in
Floor
Yeah.
would be
what kind of
not-
roof they're gonna
that's what
do?
they when
Straight
they-
across or angle down?
The racquetball get used because we're getting rid of the outdoor racquetball,
Ven, Luciano, sienta aquí.
the
Right,
wall.
because the gym's gonna be
Because the
involved.
gym goes into that. A lot of people use that, waiting for tennis, so on and so forth. We even
No,
use
an
it.
indoor racquetball is nice.
We use it, well, no, even if you don't put a roof. I'm saying this,
we should
leaving the
add-
structure as is and just
But
fix
But it's
it.
gonna be 4 wall.
It's pricey, but again, it's a wish list.
Because there's a 3 wall out there, right?
No,
Three
it's
wall
not.
and a 4 wall.
No, it's, no, there's
All
4.
right.
I thought
It's
the
a
one
sim-
on this
single
side.
The
wall.
room.
Okay, let's
It's
keep
just the
that.
front wall,
It's
it's
just
front
the
wall
front
of the.
wall.
People just use the outside to practice for tennis and things like that, but that's gonna be
That's
gone
right,
now.
racquetball, a 4 wall.
And if we open, if the hours of operation change, you have more hours that people can go play.
And within the rules of racquetball, you're allowed to hit the roof, right?
Yeah.
So we don't
You
have,
need all
not
the
having a
wall.
roof is weird too then.
Yeah.
It's not really,
And the ball always goes over.
yeah.
I
You gotta
mean,
go out and get it in
if
one.
you're playing somebody that's constantly hitting the roof,
Yeah, you,
Ah, pues, pues yo no lo había visto.
No,
Yeah,
no,
problem.
no,
Maybe that's
no.
part
the
of
wrong
it.
person.
30
Tell them
foot
what
roof.
Maybe that's part of your
highlight.
game though.
Casa nueva,
Maybe I'm thinking.
pero completa.
If it wasn't for tennis, the tennis
Muy bueno.
academy, the racquetball room probably gets used more than the tennis courts. To put that into perspective of having to remove the racquetball.
We're also gonna be bringing more people that are gonna be working out at the
We're
new
all over the
gym,
place.
that are gonna think, all right, let me do cardio and
Yeah.
racquetball and play pickleball.
Pickleball brings different
There's
people
gonna be a lot more people
to the
foot
environment
traffic.
at
What are we
night.
doing?
So you guys wanna put that item back on?
Make a motion,
In
please.
closing,
By motion.
closing the racquetball
I got a quick question. What about the tennis program? Does the tennis program have preference? Because they're there from a certain time to a certain time, right? So they're gonna have preference, right?
Yeah, but it'll be
Tennis court?
enough.
Over the pickleball?
They only get a single.
No, they're not
court,
gonna
right?
use
Yeah.
the pickleball, and then one of the junior court is for them not to take up a full court.
Right.
So both pickleball will be open with at least one of the big ones.
Okay, so
That's
it's
the idea with the junior. If now we just use,
It's supposed to be 2 tennis court, a junior tennis court, and
And a
2
pickleball.
pickleball, all separate.
or we don't have to do the junior, or you make the junior 2 pickleball and then you could just use it.
Mr. Mayor.
It has the same purpose.
Okay.
But assuming everyone, say all the courts are in use, Mr. Brown,
That's straight from Julio.
so assuming all courts are in use, are people gonna be in each other's way? Or is everyone?
Okay, look, there's, they did the drawing from it.
Old list.
I presented it to them.
Is there any seating inside the tennis court?
Right now,
Like
yeah,
bleachers?
but when we
I
get
gave you
ready,
mine.
Yeah.
that's gonna get taken out.
The agenda.
Yeah, the agenda.
Yeah, there's
I
2
gave you
roofs there.
that.
The seating isn't permanent. They're movable.
But was there like benches at least for people who are waiting for
Right
next?
now, yeah.
That's in
But it's-
between, but
But
it's
that's in
getting-
between and that's gonna disappear
be-
because the courts will be
So
closer
we'll
together.
put them outside the fence.
Yeah.
We, you know, there's a.
Outside and there's
Are we
gates
gonna have
out
a
there?
time limit on the usage? Typically it's an hour.
Right now, no, because there's not, the demand isn't as strong. There's not 10 people waiting or 1 person even
Well,
waiting.
For
typically,
tennis?
typically it's an hour, you know.
Yeah.
If someone gets there, you know.
Like pickleball, we'd have to structure however I don't know how Tropical does it. That's the only one that I know that's really close.
We
Well,
need
you'd
to
have
look
to
into that
structure it,
and
yeah.
have some kind of structure because
Yeah, before a wave of people.
you're gonna have
comes.
arguments about the court.
But we all agree that we want those courts, so that all that stuff can be dealt with later, but we are moving on with that.
Yeah,
actually,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then for the racquetball court, somebody wanna make a motion on
Can I
keeping
make
that?
a
in-
motion?
And putting a roof on? Yeah, I'll
keep
make
it-
the motion.
yeah, If there's nothing else, we can.
Second the motion.
Okay, so that's under the building and lighting renovations in the first box, so
Okay.
we'll keep it there.
Oh, yeah.
So the roof, okay, so roof and air conditioning
Air
racquetball court, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it would need like the floor resurface. No, I mean, that's very specific. I wanted to make sure.
Market and everything.
It's just the main idea.
Okay.
We have a motion by.
I wasn't good in
Alex
language
Diaz.
arts.
We need a second.
Second.
Second by Travis Senior. Are all in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Okay, motion passed.
In the category of athletic area renovations, you're going to leave the resurfacing of the tennis courts and the pickleball courts, correct?
And I would add again the resurfacing of the basketball courts at a different period of time.
Right.
But put it in there because every 15, 20 years they need to be redone anyway.
But when you say here resurface tennis court, we should add that we're gonna be more than that. It's gonna be construction there, because you have to redo the whole tennis court, don't it?
Was that unfunded?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that enough money?
Yeah, but we've left it at 50 because that was the state required match that.
For that grant.
Right. When you apply for a $50,000
So that's the
grant,
maximum they match?
that is the maximum that you can get without a match.
Yeah, but then, it's not gonna cost $50,000 to do this, it's gonna be a lot more.
Right,
A
but
lot more.
usually the city will fund the rest.
Yeah, the city's gonna, I don't know.
It's gonna be like
Will the city,
$150,000 more.
$450,000? That's what I'm saying. I mean, if we put on the $50,000, we'll never get this done. Because it's gonna cost more than $100,000 to do the surface of the tennis court.
What's
You spend $50,000 on the piece of, the tarp on Cooper's Park.
Right, but we did, we're going based on past experience. We
Yeah.
just did the racquetball courts 2 years ago, basketball courts for $50,000.
So
Yeah,
not just
but
resurface.
today's
Here we have to
prices-
redo the whole floor. We're gonna move the court over. You're gonna add 2 more courts to it, or 3 more courts.
I understand.
So it's gonna be a lot more money.
But
Okay.
This is just a budget. It's not-
Yeah, I'm saying
It's
we'll
more
never
of a
get
wish
moved the way it
list
is.
Exactly,
than a
with the
budget.
budget.
What does that work entail? Is it just, it's literally just a surface, resurfacing it, that's right? We're not doing concrete work or anything, right?
No, it's removing the 2 structures that are there with the canopies, removing the trees that are in the center, removing the poles that are in the center, paving that section.
That's a small section.
Closed off, and then let them come in and restripe everything to the new design that we provided.
So it's basically,
And the removal of the trees is done by us, The removal of the structures can be done by us, and so those are things that we take out so that it doesn't add to the budget.
Right.
Can we repurpose those structures somewhere else maybe?
If they're pretty bad shape, but
Oh, they're in bad
we'll look
shape.
at it. Like the ones that the benches that we just took out of the community center courtyard, we repurposed them. They're back there, we're gonna put them at the garden club, so we tried.
Okay.
This is the one that we're looking for, a current list, that's from 2020
Does anyone have any
to
ideas
2030.
that they want to bring
The
up
wish
since the last meeting?
Painting on the wall? As far as athletic area renovation, one area that's always getting a lot of use and we can never get grass to grow is between the pavilion and the basketball court.
Right.
My idea there has always been to go ahead and do that with artificial turf. It's an expensive proposition, but
Where's that at, Juan? I'm sorry.
from the end of the basketball courts
Okay.
to the pavilion.
Okay.
The concession stand, all that area.
Right there.
Take that out of there, the lip at the end of the basketball court, take all that out and regrade it and then put in artificial turf.
And by the,
That'd be very nice for rentals and everything, because
Right.
by the building also.
Yeah.
How does artificial grass work with the traffic that we have with kids
Oh, no,
there?
it'll take it.
yeah, if you
Yeah,
go
way better
to
than the grass.
you go to different locations that are popping up, they have the turf.
Get very hot.
They have
Yeah,
the kids running around, throwing themselves all over it.
It's gotta be
I mean,
installed
Doral's been
correctly.
one of the longest ones that's had the artificial turf on their field, and
Yeah.
What about
Going to look
increasing
like
the
brand
size
new
of the
today.
pavilion? Because it does get used a lot for the rental purposes.
It does.
So, I mean, I think a good way to generate money, I know that you guys use it a lot at the rec center.
even
And
the
we
kids, they
rent it
like
for
to hang out.
parties.
It rented for party,
Uh-huh.
if it was even nicer, we could charge more, if it was bigger, the same thing.
What kind of upgrades can you envision that
Well,
would
the
bring
first
more
thing I
revenue?
would do to that, to the pavilion is put an air conditioning in there. And maybe plexiglass so that you don't take away from the light, you know.
And
You
you
could
can,
do-
and you can see your children
You can see the
running
kids
around outside.
play, you know, you can watch a baseball game or a basketball game at the same time. I know that there are parks in Miami-Dade County that rent their facilities and they have the facility itself is air conditioning because the food can get spoiled and the birthday cakes and all that, and that's what we cater to. So maybe, again, reconditioning the building to bring it up to par for the venues. We also talked about getting that barbecue pit in there. It's been
That's in-
difficult.
That's in there now.
That's in there now.
So we can add that as a wish list item, and then
You
if it
can.
never
Well,
comes to
people-
fruition, it's on there at least.
Closure of the pavilion.
You can actually add both things, enlarge it and enclose it if you wish, right?
If we're gonna enlarge it, it'll be a complete demo.
Which way you gonna go? It's not much room.
It's got a
around
brand
there.
new metal
I
roof.
know, but that's very old,
Well, to the
standard,
left, it's kind of,
towards 18th Street.
right, like where
Who's
the.
left?
Yeah, you gotta be brought up to code.
Who's left?
Yep.
Towards
So maybe just air
where the light
conditioning
switches
and-
for the.
Yeah,
I think
street.
people would be
The
very
lights,
friendly
you know, that
to
little
that.
patch of grass on the side, because they use the
Yeah.
front a
That's
lot.
why they
to
want to
do
put the
the-
barbecue there.
Oh, that's where they're
You
gonna
gotta
put the
do it
barbecue.
the right
in the air,
way,
but
keep
that
the
causes-
light.
That causes a lot of traffic.
How much space can a barbecue take though? Like,
Extending that roof
Yeah,
too
yeah.
far that way, you have a lot of,
No extension. It would have to be a complete demo.
Yeah,
well, what I'm saying is, okay, but making that building bigger, where do you
Wider.
walk?
yeah, to the.
To the baseball where
court.
you-
That's a good point also.
It causes a lot of traffic with 200 kids going to and from the field. You have to, all the traffic starts going through the playground now.
Yeah.
Plus you driving up to the park, you're gonna start to see giant building, racquetball, giant building. So it's starting to feel.
Congested.
Well, then-
Not many of the parties that are held there are bigger than what the structure holds. Like
Demands.
there's,
50.
So enclosing
No,
it.
unless
you
you
have
make
the
it,
whole park, yeah.
unless you're just making a
And
huge
we
party
put
outside
AC.
because you don't
I
want to
think
pay what
we're
it
gonna
costs
close it
inside.
with
Yeah,
But
some
there's
kinda
not 100
transparency
plus
through
people
type
sitting
Yeah,
down in
yeah.
a pavilion.
I mean, cheaper than extending the building would be if the grass is turf, maybe a shade structure over that. So now the party is indoor, outdoor, and you have a covered surface for rain or whatever too.
Because the thing with the turf is, like he mentioned, it gets really hot. I don't know if anyone's ever played on turf, but I mean, the floor is upwards of 100 degrees. Yeah, because it's just rubber. And like sometimes, like it hurts to walk on it with shoes even, like
Yeah, it gets hot.
it gets hot. So I think if we're gonna do the turf, we definitely wanna look at putting some more shade there or adding trees, something along those lines.
Yeah, we'll go with the adding trees.
And-
Yeah, trees are cheaper.
And you can't add a canopy structure?
Yeah.
Canopy is less expensive than tearing it down and building a new structure. You add,
Canopy
an
work.
opportunity for people to
To the
have
front of the,
inside and outside,
if they put the
And if we
turf.
put trees, remember,
That
they
takes
grow, they have roots.
There's no reason.
yeah.
That takes a huge part of the play area of the kids. That's why that grass is gone. If you put I prefer a canopy in the playground
Yep.
and the removal of that tree. Because that tree drops a lot of sticks. And if you remember, Mr. Penna, the last hurricane, it created a hole in the roof and it knocked down a lot of the playground equipment. So a canopy, I would in the playground for sure. But the kids use that area a lot first. So we put a canopy and put a tree there. It takes a lot of that area to play in.
So get rid of the tree.
Like,
we would
like
go
we
with
said,
different-
that canopy at Cooper looks really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's really happy with that canopy.
Yeah.
And again, the good thing, the rec doesn't have any other canopies, so that it won't start to feel
Yeah, like a bunch of
so
tents
much
everywhere.
going on. Yeah.
Right, but that's the type of canopy we're talking to. There's something far away from the area and high enough that they can play on it.
Getting
So
rid-
close to the basketball.
I just think it looks like a lot.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It has to be far up, open enough that it doesn't interfere with the basketball play.
But then you put it high enough and
Yeah.
then it's just like the shaded structure for the court. You're not really shading anything.
We have to look into.
I just think it starts to look like a lot, like just a roof here, a
Yeah.
roof there,
Yeah.
a canopy in the playground.
But with the kids using that area a lot, you're in favor of the turf?
Yeah. The courts are hot, man.
Yeah.
That's true. The courts are hot.
I mean, yes,
I
us
think the
standing
turf
there, if
will
we
look
stand
awesome.
there for a while,
And
we're
it's not
gonna
turf
move.
on concrete, it's turf on
Yeah.
soil.
So if anything, I'll turn on the hose everybody down, and hose the.
Yeah, I think that little area will look nice with the turf. Renovating the pavilion at some point, the outdoor barbecue area,
And the canopy.
that would
And
be a
the
nice
canopy.
setup. The canopy over the playground.
How about those, those jets that shoot up water, and
Yeah,
the
the
kids-
mist.
Yeah, like a splash pad.
Maybe throw that in there
That's a
too.
No.
splash pad, too.
No,
Oh, that's a,
That's a splash pad, yeah.
Yeah, they got
is
those.
that what you call it?
Yeah,
Okay,
but you-
all right.
no, that's it.
Mist is like
It's a
you
good
do in
idea.
most commercial areas.
I like the
Yeah.
You
idea.
could put them on the roof,
No, no,
too,
no, no,
on the
no,
roof.
no, that's a liability.
Splash pad, that's what you
That's
call
a
it?
liability for the city.
I thought it was like a slip and slide.
I have a hose right there connected to the pavilion. I'll start to use them more.
About a slip and slide.
Yes, and your kid falls, it can be dead, it can be brain damage.
Let's
and you
close,
do not-
let's close the wreck.
No, please
I mean,
don't.
think,
Let's close the city.
no,
Eliminate the sidewalks.
Good news is half those rec kids were already brain dead anyway.
So area in between.
Hey, I'm still here, bro.
Look at this.
Turfing that area, right. And then a shaded structure over the playground.
Okay.
So AC to the pavilion and enclosure.
A good mini
the
split will,
golf,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
will cool that nice.
golf grass,
Like a
and then the
double
canopy
head mini
over
split.
the
One on one side, one
equipment,
on the
yeah.
other.
Those things freeze you out.
Yeah, those are good. And they last a long time, a good one will last a
And
long.
economical.
which one?
Economical.
Look,
The
mini
the
split
space
air
one that freezes you out,
conditioners,
bro.
buenísimos, ¿sabes?
I don't know why anybody does
Let me
central
say-
AC anymore.
If I would know, I would
I
have
have one
mini
in my
splits all
Florida.
around my house.
That's all
I have
Europe
one
is.
in my Florida.
Yeah.
Europe,
In my
they don't-
dining
they
room,
don't
Florida
have
room.
The motion on that?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do you got one
Doing a great job.
here. Okay, going down, acquisition for parkland.
Very necessary.
I want in on number 3.
That's always been on our wish list, 6350 11th Street.
Oh, the big one, yeah, half an acre one.
The old
And at
firehouse.
today's real estate market price, even if we get some adjustment in the market, you're never gonna buy that property for $400,000.
That's why I want in on it.
What are we looking at in Northern.
Acquire the property at 6350 Southwest 11th Street for either a park or a cultural center.
So that's the third item, and then 1 and 2 are.
Property there, probably
One and two
1.4
is,
million.
If this trailer park ever gets redeveloped, now that it's changed hands, we need to try to get acquisition some land from them in a trade-off maybe from impact fees or something, where we get 2 acres of land for their impact fees that they would have to pay the city.
Yeah, so I'm going to interject here. I largely want to stay quiet because I want the more organic stuff here, but on the acquisition for land, we have to be a little more, it's more of a policy decision of whether you want to go in a route, if the city wants to go a route to these pocket parks, or whether we want to expand our current parks, right? Because it's really a trade-off. We're realistically not going to be able to do both, right? We're either going to go a route and have like little Lorraine parks, like we have on, what is it, 19th? 18th. But probably a little bigger because I understand why this property's been a target, has the little firehouse, you know. But then there's the other part, which is, do we want to go and try to expand Cooper, or even is there anything adjacent to the rec center that's land? Yeah, well,
Homes.
they're all gonna be homes, but
The power plant.
Oh, yeah, power
No,
plant. Yeah,
next
we
to the power
go
plant.
solar.
It'd be the homes to the north.
Right, and then like Mr. Penna says, there's the Shirley Park property, which there's multiple ways that can happen. It can happen with acquisition with impact fees, or it can happen as an extraction, depending on how big their parcel is. It might be a deal just where where they choose to give us that land, and then we have to spend money actually making a park, right? So, it's more of a policy choice of whether you want to go expanding or you want to start spreading out these green areas. Coral Gables spend a lot of money. They have a lot of money making these pocket parks, and that's fantastic. They've also went and expanded their parks. They have the ability to do both because they're very rich. But we kind of have to make that choice, keeping in mind that we might have future things like annexation down towards the residential part or down towards the 7th in the future, as all the cities choose to grow their area. So I just want to keep that in mind, and I'll let you get back to the discussion.
What can we have, both?
Well, can you? I mean, yeah,
Well,
you hope in
it's a
perfect world
list.
you have
It's,
both.
if we don't have it, then we can't do it.
So,
But we could add on to this, like the mayor was saying, to acquire property around our existing parks.
Right, because the thing is,
That's
when you,
not on
for
here.
example, the impact fees, like Mr. Penna says, right now the impact fees we can't afford to buy anything, right? He's saying in the future, if with future development you get money to reestablish that fund. Let's say, I'm just gonna throw a number, random number. Let's say you have $1 million there, right? And then all of a sudden the 11th Street property goes up, right? And you're able to buy it for $1 million. Now you don't have that money anymore to go after properties adjacent to the parks, right? So you can't have both, really. I mean, it's a wish list, and I'm not saying take anything off, but what is the priority? Is the priority to go for these parcels, or is the priority to go expand these parks? So I'm not saying remove anything. I'm just saying on the prioritization, what is it?
All depend. I mean, if the stock market takes a hit and it goes down to,
I'm not sure that's me.
I mean,
I
And
guess.
properties go back down to the levels that they were in 2007?
yeah, there was blood on the street.
Yeah, I
man,
guess it
and-
depends
and,
on the timeline. Because you can kind of do both. If you're not going to be expanding current parks till a later date, right? Realistically, till 10 years from now, let's say, then you can invest in small pocket parks that you can, as a city, in turn, resell for higher, and that helps you reinvest it into expanding parks, I would imagine. But, it's a risk, because you don't know what the real estate market's gonna do, And cities aren't in the real
Pocket
estate.
parks are more expensive though, because you have to knock down and build, versus if you're building adjacent, you already have most the facilities, the power, the water, all that
Yeah,
stuff.
and I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever seen a park get sold for redevelopment. It
No,
makes
no,
sense.
I
It
agree.
makes sense. Like if you look at it from a
business.
you
Yeah.
you would take this money, sell it, and move it over here. But when you build a park,
It
Yeah,
stays.
or
Stays
they're
the
gonna
park.
sell the park
It
on Main
stays.
Street.
And I gotta remind you that when the census comes around, that if your population increases, you have to have green space because you have to have certain levels of service. So, ideally, we could leave both on the list, but realistically speaking, where do we get a better bang for our buck in terms of your two parks, and that would be by acquiring property, so we can grow
Expand the
our,
park.
exactly.
Just parking
Does
alone
the state
was
require green space
entirely
per,
needed.
per
Yeah, but
our
we're
population?
We're-
we're well beyond that. That's not.
We are, we are.
Because there's different items, like, I don't know how everyone feels about a pool, but let's say the idea of one day is if we annex to put a pool someplace else, but the rec center realistically is where a pool should be. There's no space currently,
Correct.
Yeah.
but if we purchase properties adjacent to it, now our rec center will be a central hub with all of our
But the
Amenities,
The
amenities.
reality is, when you're going to buy a piece of property adjacent to one of the parks, you have to wait till that person's ready to move out.
Yeah.
right. It's
Right.
gonna,
We did at the Garden Club Park.
Right,
Okay, that was an opportunity. And the only time opportunities happen is when elderly folks move on or pass away,
right.
okay? So you're talking about a good 15 years down the line, or a good 10 years down the line, depending on the age group that lives behind the park.
and there's a lot of homes there to
Or it could be
so-
tomorrow, right? I mean,
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
But
Right.
what I'm saying, the realistic,
This person has
available
no
land is better always to get available land if it suits our purpose.
Young people could die too, not always the
I
elderly.
Young people move too.
If they fall,
Mira cómo brincó.
Maybe they hit the lotto and they
But
move to
that's the
Broadview.
reality that we've seen here, okay? And at the end of the day, vacant land, if it suits your purpose, is a lot faster to get a hold of and to be able to turn it into a pocket park of whatever size it becomes. Right now, we have, eyes out for property next to our parks to see
Right.
what's next. But, you know,
Like by the Garden Club Park, the park is really nice. People would love to rent it more often, but the issue is parking. So if one of those properties becomes available adjacent to the park, maybe the city can purchase or
Even at the
acquire
rec,
that.
the parking
The
is,
parking.
yeah, the parking is a huge, like, the other day, the event they had there, I mean, there were cars up and down residents' houses.
Yes.
I think there were some
it
people
was-
making
it was
money,
fun.
man, having people park in their,
Yeah.
in their,
At the
Yeah.
Halloween
Yeah.
event.
But everywhere we park
Puro
is
puro
public
palete,
space.
palete.
so let me tell
I
you,
told
that
some
exceeded
guy,
our
"Yeah, I want a
expectations, how many
cut."
people are gonna show up?
I mean, also the
charging
road
$5?
next to Cooper Park between the park and Publix. Who owns that?
King.
Public way.
Because I've heard before that we can't put parking because the trucks for Publix have to make entry, but it's our land, and that's not really our issue, right?
No, it's not our land, public.
It's
Or
a
it's public
right.
right away. So, but can we put parking there?
If we put parking there, how do you access the facility that's?
Not in front of the mulch area, but can we add additional parking in the area that's not in front of
angle parking?
angle parking because it's a 2-lane road?
I know, but we have a lot of other,
If you can get two,
Communicate-
one or two
yeah.
parking more spaces there. It's
Yeah.
not
Not
a lot
only
of
that, you got the
communications.
big trucks
Yeah,
that
it's not
come
that
and
much room
deliver
there.
food
we
there,
have a
and
lot of-
they're
Oh, yeah.
maneuvering in there.
Yeah, there's not that much.
There's a
room.
parking space there, it's for handicap, that's that's the only area.
That
available
one
there
spot
for-
that
for
pulls in,
parking.
right?
Ideally, it would be the two houses adjacent to Cooper.
Absolutely.
Because they're between the school and it
west.
would make it, it would make perfect parking, honestly.
And then you're assuming there's no bidding over there for.
Yeah, no.
For
it's
Somerset.
gonna
Which,
be-
which, by the way, wouldn't necessarily
But
be a
Cooper
bad
Park,
thing.
the parking is
because
not that bad.
There's a
Plenty
chance.
of parking around the Cooper's Park.
I mean, Somerset, in this last event, I don't know if you noticed, left the gates open.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, we have this event.
I know.
Yeah.
And so I'm, it's they're community partners,
Right.
and if they buy the property, that's not necessarily bad for us if our intention is to put parking, right?
Right.
them or us is a good thing regardless.
But again, you have an elderly couple that lives towards 16th Street, and you have a young officer that lives to the 15th Street. You don't ever know when either one is gonna go. We missed those opportunities a long time ago when the officer bought that house.
And those are duplexes, right?
No.
No, it's
Single
not.
family, and then next to it is.
Nobody had to die.
In increasing the green space, I don't know if you guys have seen like schools that are also multi-purpose parks. What about actually using Sylvania Heights? Is there any way we can purchase or make an agreement in which we can use their facilities and their
For-
like field?
For parking?
No, for
park space.
making a whole brand new park. I mean, like, I don't know if you've seen the schools that are also parks. They're owned by Miami-Dade County.
Yeah.
One by my house,
when I was a
Banyan.
kid, we used to go in
Yeah.
Sylvania
Yeah.
Heights and because the gates were open, but since then that
Yeah.
hasn't been the case.
Yeah, the issue has been security, obviously,
Right.
right, as things have gotten
Yeah.
back.
Excuse me, don't forget that the trailer park, the day be sold, I don't know when, they have to dedicate 2 acres in the back
They don't have
to the city for park area.
to negotiate.
Whatever they are 7 acres? How big
Oh,
is the
they
trailer
need a
park?
special use permit for
7,
us.
the 2 acres, close to the 11th Street, that is a dedication to the city for park area.
That has to be
Don't forget that.
That has to
I
be
don't know if you know that.
negotiated.
I don't know if you know that, but
Yeah,
this
but
is
they might not
compliant.
sell tomorrow. It might be 25
Well,
years
well,
from
maybe
now.
25
30
years,
from
but
now.
I want you're a young kid.
Yeah.
I want you put in your mind that eventually we will have that land there. Eventually that land is in the compound. The 2 acres will be dedicated to park area.
So
Don't forget that.
So we can have a discussion with the school, and the new school member coming in. There's kind of a new energy there.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've been meaning to have a discussion with her and the school about parking for our events.
Yeah.
Already. So I know you're talking about as a kid, I used to go to the park too. I would get my airplane stuck in the trees there.
Yeah.
So you know, I'm sure that the recent lockdown of it has probably been security, but, you know, it does not say that nothing can be done there. I think we should have the discussion.
And Sylvania Heights is pretty secure. I mean, I'm always running around the neighborhood, and I mean, there is a school police officer, not to mention our own police officers, and they are always all over that area. I mean, if I had kids, I think I'd feel very, secure
Safe.
with them
Yeah,
being at that school.
I think we could definitely have the discussion. Frankly, really, it's no point having the discussion until November 22nd, when the new school member comes in.
Yeah.
But following that, I think I'm definitely going to be having a discussion on the parking already, so we can definitely have a greater discussion about the park and what we can. If there's anything we can do, there's great space. So you hate for it to, like, I don't want to say go to waste because the kids use it, but it's green
They only
space where
use it-
it's at it's at prime,
Yeah. They only use it from,
Yeah.
X to X time, and it'd be nice, the residents could walk over, and use it all the same.
Yeah. So we'll have discussion. I
And
think
it
it's
might be a
great.
low-cost option,
Right.
As far as the 3 categories there, we leave the 3 categories as listed. All we're gonna do is up the prices from 400,000 obviously to at least 600,000.
Right.
Storage facility.
The additional land for the parking lots, you are referring to, Juan? The purchase of the properties across the street as the one for parking lots, or when that trailer park gets developed?
Wherever we need it.
Wherever, okay,
That's why I just threw it in there.
okay. And the additional acreage on the northern section,
That
that would be the
park.
trailer park, that's what I thought. And you need to, the amount is gonna be much greater than that at today's cost.
Right.
Okay.
All right,
We have to
Chairman.
think about the comp plan.
Just-
All these things are in the comp plan years ago, but every day is coming closer to the time that is going to happen.
Just to backtrack real quick, because I just noticed number 2 under building and lighting renovations says tennis and basketball and playground areas. There was talks about the baseball field as well, right? The LED lighting.
Yeah, all the lighting is green.
Okay. But then there was talks about raising the height behind home plate.
The home plate, 55.
So that's already underway then.
Was that approved already or no?
That's in our product grant
The grant that
that we have awarded.
Is awarded already? So when,
Not the work, it's been awarded to us by the state.
okay. So when the work's gonna start then?
As soon as we can get specifications to go out for bid.
Okay.
The next thing is the playground and exercise PlayStation replacement. Again, this is, on at Cooper Park,
that was a grant already as well, correct?
which, I believe we applied for one.
We applied for a grant for that, Cooper.
But the recreation center, on the playground is also, exercise equipment, like Mr. Lopez indicated to us, has been battered by a couple of storms.
Yep.
Because of the tree.
One, I think we need to work on the amounts at today's prices.
Again, we could raise them, but Doesn't mean, it means that from.
Oh, we have to fund a
Remember-
great portion of it,
The state
absolutely.
hasn't raised their votes.
I know.
50 and 100.
Exactly.
You wanna go to 100, you gotta pay the other.
But I think we need to be very realistic, otherwise we won't be able to budget or anything.
We have to work what we got too.
Mhm.
So you wanna go there, what, 50, 75?
I would say 75. I mean, if a shade structure costs, what, 50,000? And, I mean, with inflation costs and equipment and the flooring and everything, it's gonna cost you at least $75,000.
That'd be a price match, right?
That would have to be a project that we would match at whatever level the state, hopefully the state is gonna be conscientious of that.
Well, yes.
Okay, now in the weight room renovations. Again, don't go by the price down here, the price down here is real, so I moved over. I have the installing of flooring mats, because we want their polished concrete, we don't want any floor material. And then we'll put mats to not damage the concrete. Replacing all the free weights and bars that you guys have. And replacing the weight machines, the 4 that you have with additional equipment. What do we fund, 140,000 in the budget?
140,000 for the equipment, yes.
So
And matting,
140 plus whatever we get from any other grant out there or anybody willing to make a donation.
right.
I spoke to somebody that is knowledgeable with how Key Biscayne runs their gym. They obviously have more money, but it's just another avenue. I hadn't even thought about it. There's companies that'll come, and I don't think it should be like something what we have now where we get equipment like a donation. Who maintains them? I don't know anything about weights. I could learn, obviously, but, you know, those weights get maintained, and then once they go, they replace everything. It sounds more expensive, but it's just an alternative and some information that I gathered.
Basically a leasing option.
Right.
Yep.
And they take care of it, and it keeps that all new, rather than me just spraying oil on Casanova screaming at me about things, and then
I think it's definitely.
And the 4 machines, isn't that what we currently have there?
In addition to the ones we're gonna get. So we're replacing
Yeah.
the 4 existing, and then we have 140
140,000 to equip the weight room.
to get more.
Yeah.
And that's what we're gonna hear the recommendation from, hopefully from Anna,
When she comes
based on
back.
her experience on that.
Because I would love to see, like, we have the weights and stuff, like, obviously that upgraded, but, you know, a treadmill, these are things that if you go to a gym, like any gym, like, just looking around, the machines that are always taken, obviously, you know, a rowing machine, a treadmill.
A bike.
And
A
what
bike,
you don't have,
stationary
which is what I
bike.
got today, is the layout for the building that's gonna be built.
Awesome.
And the spacing so far allows for 4 treadmills,
Okay,
3 bicycles, 1, 2, 3, 4 weight stations at one end, multiple weight station in the middle, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 benches.
Oh, wow.
That's a good space.
It's like a huge upgrade
Yeah.
to what is currently.
Tell me about it.
It's gonna be a gym people are actually gonna work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Awesome.
What is the current square footage on that gym? Because this one, the new one's 4,000, 200 square feet, right? It's like a bedroom.
It's an efficiency.
If you include the yoga
A
room, it's
sauna.
about 4,000 square feet.
It's a sauna, Alex.
I'll let
It is
you
a
pass
sauna.
around, and there's some
How
stuff
much
that
is
we're
the
still
square
working
footage?
4,000.
4,000?
it'll be all fenced off. We don't really venture to that side.
That's why it could be big homes. That's
Nice.
size of home.
No, and it's open, you know, so it's 4,000 square feet of useful
Yeah.
space.
Yoga room, that's nice.
And it has
That's
the
awesome.
view to the courts.
Well, then,
That's gonna look beautiful coming up from the street.
Jim?
Did somebody mention before doing a small gate around Cooper? Small fence?
Fencing.
What's the status on that? We have to put that on this?
Getting a decent price on wood.
Should we add this though? This item just?
It's
it
in,
is?
it's in the complex.
Like a little 4 foot, like the.
Like a ranch style.
Yeah, the ranch style
The
ones
county
that they
uses at
have.
their
Yeah.
park.
Yeah, we talked about that, and we talked about a expensive cheaper option at some point
Yeah,
for just the little kid playground, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's
Yeah, for
more
just a
of-
little kid playground also, if you wanted to go with a more scaled back option.
Right.
because that's obviously the biggest.
There's more of the
risk for-
fear there, right?
For, you know, unleashing and running 16th Street.
Right.
Well, the fencing,
Or all along
Mayor,
16th.
we also talked about the issue of
Leaving 15th Street
the
open.
small
Right.
fence
That might be.
to keep vendors from coming in with their big trucks.
Right.
And,
Well,
and,
that's why what he just said might be interesting, which is are the bigger fear. Look, something can happen on any street, right? But the bigger fear is 16th Street,
16th.
right? So, you know, the vendors typically, I've never seen one of our vendors come through 16th. They always come in through the back.
No, we actually
no.
we left the curb cut
Yeah,
on 16th
yeah, we
Street
did.
because of the power and their cranes that
Yeah,
they
we
put
did.
in there.
Yeah, so there you'd have to have a gate anyway.
Yeah, we would put gates in.
But the vendors we're now we're now moving most of our events to Cooper, right, to protect the courts.
right.
The vendors are almost always going to come onto that
Right, but
15th
before
side.
we have the curb right away
Right.
like we have now with
Right.
parking, so
So
that's one step to keep people from coming up.
Yeah.
that might work.
Vice Mayor Blanes brought up earlier the splash pad. I know there's people that aren't in favor of it, but I have
Oh,
a
it
lot
was
of
a
requests
slip
for
and
this
slide.
item, so I want to bring it up to discuss. with
I'm
everybody.
against that.
Is that the ones that shoot water?
Shoots water out.
And the kids run around? Oh, that's
you can
great.
have a
Yeah, it's
giant-
great, and they fall, they can kill the kid, they can have brain damage. If you haven't seen it, I have seen it
Oh,
because
wait a
I work
minute.
in the hospital.
They can get brain cancer too. You know,
I
the
didn't
water-
say cancer.
Water's polluted.
In reality,
In
with
reality,
when
I'm
any
against.
playground, monkey bars, all that stuff, kids can fall. So I understand the apprehension,
Jungle
but
gyms.
jungle gym. But I think it's still a benefit to the city. A lot of residents want it, so I wanted to bring it up to
Absolutely.
discuss it.
Not me.
There's the thing that we have to look at with that. The biggest thing you have to look at is you're seeing it more often, or you're seeing it more across. But the ones I've seen have usually, I'm not lie. The one I've seen really has been, paid for, right? Where they charge for admission, right? And I think
Right.
you've seen it too, right?
In Pinecrest?
In Pinecrest. I know that I think either Springs or one of them opens seasonally.
Miami Springs.
Miami Springs opens seasonally.
There's one in the zoo too, but
yeah.
same thing, you have to pay to get in.
Right. So I'm
Key
just
Largo.
curious if that payment is just because it's a revenue for them, or because if they get a lot of outside visitors, or is it because it's so expensive to maintain? You know, with water, things with water tend to be very expensive.
Do we have
Probably
an
all the
idea?
above and the liability too.
You have an
But-
idea, Pena?
but I think-
It all
runs?
depends
I
on the
think
size.
I think
My liability.
We're talking
I think the reality
a
is that
couple
we,
$100,000.
yeah, but we really
water
don't,
feature
because
Yeah,
none of
but
us
they
research. I mean, really in-depth research.
Yeah,
Right?
Pump.
So
You gotta have like a
the
whole
idea is really
pump
that
system.
you would have to get one of these governments to basically show you their expenses, which
Right.
they will, show you how much it costs for them to build it out and how much their expenses are, to really know what the value is on it.
Right. Yeah. It'd be if we decide that it's something that we want to have on here, and then we can proceed with figuring out what it costs to maintain and all those other aspects of it. But
Yeah, I
where
spend
to
money.
put it?
Don't- Just go ahead and spend
Where to put
money.
it is the big one.
The city pays.
Add it to the list.
we're not
Well,
spending
you
money
always-
tonight.
you
We're
always
just
so
adding it.
negative.
I am not negative.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
Right.
Yes,
I
you
have
are.
brain
Right.
because I have seen kids being killed and brain damage because of that.
Yeah.
Of
I mean,
what?
we aren't spending the money tonight. This
Of
is just
what?
to move forward with the
To
item.
Slip and
add,
slide?
to include it
Yes,
in
To
the
include it
list.
in the list.
So putting it on there at least gives us
I've
options
never heard of that.
to
Yeah,
study it.
because
Is
you
that what you're
don't,
saying?
you haven't worked in this place.
Because
Right.
Pinecrest, I think,
And
charges.
that goes without saying that it applies to every project. Every project on this wish list, if we go for it, remember about sustainability. By then I'll be on 55th and Flagler.
'Cause
And Flagler Memorial, I don't have to worry about that.
It's
But-
also important to remember,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Chair, it's also important to remember that this list, and one of the reasons why I try not to come very early, is this list is a first step of many, right? Eventually, anything that is taken off this list and taken to the commission has to be approved by the commission, right? But this list is the first step. Some of these will happen fast, some of these we already have the money for, some of them will have the money for very quickly, and some of them may never happen, right? But this is the first step from getting, residents who use the red often to tell us what they want, right? And the other part of it is that in the future, and I'm very glad you're all here today, but in the future, I want to give you guys even tools to go get data from even more residents, right? Like we're having all these QR code things. We can even survey residents at your pleasure to see what it is. But this board is going to be the onset of anything that happens in these parks and rec, right? But it's a first step. So the splash pad stuff, I've heard about it from residents too. I know you've brought it up in the commission before. So, you know, tell us what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to have a motion to add it, correct?
And there's different versions. There's splash pads and there's spray pads.
Right.
Two different
Yeah, it doesn't have to have a body of water. It's
It's a rubberized,
bit.
rubberized area with a drainage field and then just the
Recycled
water that,
water.
Yeah, and it has a dolphin that shoots water out or a fire hydrant
Yeah,
or
you
whatever.
can-
Like it's.
They have different,
So to be clear, just, if you
heads.
put it on the list, at least it opens the door to discuss it. I mean, there's nothing gonna be done right now about it anyway. It gives the opportunity for residents to come and discuss it and talk about it and give their opinion, so.
And obviously the city can't research anything anyways, right? But it puts it on so that we actually have it on the radar to research and look at.
And do you have a preference of parks where you want this, or do you want to explore it at both parks when the
I
time
think it
comes?
needs to be supervised. I think
I
probably
think
the
so.
rec,
Engaged, definitely.
the rec should be the,
Yeah, but where you
There's
gonna
no
put it in
space
the
in the rec to
Where
really
you
put
gonna
it
put
though.
it?
Yeah.
and because at Cooper Park.
And
where
that
are you
would
gonna put it?
generate a lot of traffic in my imagination, so.
Money.
Not money
Well-
too, but parking also, like it would have to have its
Oh,
own,
yeah.
like, you know, there's already stuff going on the rec from Monday through Friday, even on Saturday.
So Cooper, so this is something that's not supervised.
But it
at
could
all.
even be where Garden Park, for instance, has I think 4 playgrounds within one, 3 or 4.
Yeah, it could be a little section.
So it
in
could be a
Garden Park.
section of that where it's
I
not
could see that.
activated, but if the park is rented for a party, then they sign a waiver saying, hey, you
That'd
know,
be
there's
a
no
great
liability to the
option.
city, and now you activate it for that party. Could be something like
They
that.
pay
too.
extra for it.
They pay extra
They
for
pay
that
extra for
amenity.
it.
So
Or we could even run it for, you know,
That's a
can
good
see
thought.
like a 3 hour, yeah, exactly, like on the summer, you know, and have someone there
If
just
you
for that
decide
time.
to do it at
We'll watch
Cooper
it.
Park, I would have staff manning it. If you have an emergency, you can always have somebody call police. You can control the number of children, you know, that go into it at one time, so, you know.
I mean, I personally don't see the difference between this and like a kid running down in the rain from the the center gazebo
Right.
sleeping on the concrete. It's so I get it, but
One thing we need to keep
I
in
don't
mind,
see the difference.
building this and put it together and building is one thing, but you gotta maintain it year after year. That
Right.
costs a lot of money to maintain. It's got a lot of more money than building.
No, yeah, there has to be
That's
income.
thing you have to keep in mind.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
talking a 10-year
And then-
plan to just have it there, and then but
No, not just any project that we do, you have to keep in mind that everything's gonna cost a lot of maintenance.
Right.
I know maintenance costs a lot of money, more than build it. I know that for a fact.
Right. The good thing is we have cities that currently have them, so they can give us those numbers.
idea.
And they've had it for a while, so they can.
They've got the data.
Yeah.
yeah, if it's not if at the end of the day it's not worth if the juice isn't worth the squeeze, then at least it's on here that we have an option.
One thing that Cooper's Park that I'm not happy with it, because a lot of people from Coral Gable cross over the street and come to our park all the time. So you have something like that, more of those people from the city, outside will come into our parks.
Yeah.
You know, that's one thing. If it was if we have room at the rec center, yeah, because it's more towards the middle of the city. But it's so close to Coral Gable, I see them every day. People come across the street all the time and come and use our park. Which, I don't have a problem with that, but if we have something like this, it will be more kids going in there. They don't live in the city.
I agree. I remember back in the day, the rec cards, you know, so that's one way to differentiate residents
Well,
and
we
non-residents.
do take,
Yeah.
we have a database.
No, I know, but for the rec, if this were to be at another park and we were to man it, that'd be an option, you know, that we'd have a database and, you know, we don't charge the residents, but we do charge the non-residents. That could be an option.
I mean, I feel like at some point that should even go for parking or anything. And
Yeah.
at Cooper, I don't know how you go about that, but maybe.
Because the majority of the wear and tear that he's talking about is unfortunately coming from non-residents, right?
Absolutely.
That's something to think about.
Mayor, I know before we leave this meeting, you and I had talked about an amphitheater, a small theater at Cooper Park a while back ago.
Yeah, we talked about a while back. I mean, again, I frankly, and we can bring it up here, but again, I'm really, really trying to kind of
let the board,
You know,
all right.
yeah, I'm trying to do that for a whole bunch of sectors in the city, because otherwise it's a very top down, and that's never good.
Yeah, but that's, I mean, we called the workshop for that, to get ideas from everyone, and, I mean, I'd like to hear about that one too, because movie nights are a great hit in a lot of cities, and if we have a permanent amphitheater, that might be something nice.
And for the arts, I mean,
To that point.
obviously, things are coming back.
When I was working in Dania, they have Dania After Dark. Every Thursday at their little park down there, they bring in music.
Yep.
And it's not, rock and roll and stuff. It's
No,
just
no,
jazzy
jazz.
stuff. People sit around in their blankets, and
Listen to
bring
music.
a sandwich or whatever.
We can have a wrestling night. Remember that wrestling night we
Remember?
had?
Culturally, I think
That
it's-
was a-
you
that
just
was a-
swung all the way to the other
That
side
was-
culturally.
Let me tell you what, that was a big hit.
It was a big hit.
With the kids at the rec.
How
and
long ago
yeah.
was
So we
Are those
combine
people
wrestling with
still around?
jazz.
Do you
Yo te
know?
mira la hora.
They're still
That
around?
was such a big hit.
Trying to go to the next
There you
level.
go.
En la CDMX.
They're still
The
around.
one that gets
Sí,
around.
mijo, pero
Well,
hay que
it's funny you say that, because
Yeah, they thought
we were
the
just talking about this the other
commission's
day, and for some reason I was
terminamos,
little,
pero
and I
derail.
remember for some reason that Manny Diaz, former Mayor Manny Diaz,
Yes.
was he in the wrestling ring?
Yes, he
Oh,
was.
there you go.
I mean, let me tell you,
Manny
you had me thinking
I-
I was crazy,
I-
because I was
I
like
don't
4
remember
years
that,
old,
man.
but I was.
I was the one that supposed to put it
For the
together.
record, I want it
Yeah.
noted that I was trying to bring some
What the hell was he
cultural
doing?
sensitivity to the street, and Commissioner Blanes derailed it and it's turned into a wrestling.
So you were right.
That's not it.
Hey,
Motion for
I don't know, I mean, the board may want to
Chairman.
consider it.
Chairman.
And that's
That
very
wrestling
easy
thing
to
happened.
maintain.
Chairman.
Motion to include in the list the splash pads.
Motion.
Peter,
Second.
Let's have a quick discussion on the amphitheater real quick.
Wait.
We gotta vote.
We have a motion on
we need
that.
to vote on the
On the
splash,
motion, all in favor?
Aye.
No,
okay. Motion passes.
All right.
no, a mí no me importa, pasa
Uh,
en su conciencia cuando alguien se caiga.
So, quick discussion on the amphitheater, Madam Manager.
En tu conciencia.
Yeah, an amphitheater that
En
that
tu
would either
conciencia.
take care of live music at the
la
park
tuya también.
or plays where kids can come and do,
Sorry, I
dances or
dominated you.
acting.
Sorry.
Just like something that would cater to the arts a little bit more. I think, we're talking a lot of recreational. I think we need to also move in the direction of arts.
Ya empezó a
Cultural.
llegar la gente.
Cultural events.
Agreed.
I'll make a motion to add the amphitheater.
Well, where's the amphitheater? Or
Esto
that's
está
to
aquí.
be
At
decided?
Cooper Park.
Cooper
At
Park.
Cooper Park? Definitely.
For now, I mean, that's the only space maybe
¿Qué tal?
towards the west side of the Cooper Park,
Actually, I would do it on the present stage.
on the present stage,
Yeah, just modify it.
like with
That's
an
what I was
overhang
thinking.
over it.
Yeah.
Over it,
canopy.
and then
We're already
more
dedicating
lights
that space.
lighting up the flag upward and downward for the.
Very good
movie.
idea.
And it lines up the whole field
That's
too.
what
Yep.
we're dedicated, yeah.
100% agree with that.
Do I
So,
hear a second?
Second.
Are all in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Motion passes.
Ya.
All right, Madam Clerk, next item.
One last item that we have on the old list, which is the storage meeting for recreation center. We still gotta keep that on the list.
what?
At least a 40 by 30 storage building, correct? On the back of, behind the, adjacent to the tennis courts, in between the tennis courts and that baseball field, to be able to house all the stuff that we are accumulating from all the activities.
Halloween, Easter.
Halloween stuff, the Christmas stuff, and those containers are good, but they don't last forever. And they're non-practical, and at the rec center, we're bulging at the seams even in that building and storage.
I know.
That's one thing that I would like to keep on there and still pursue.
Make a motion to keep it on there.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Aye, are in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Motion passes.
Next item.
One more thing, I don't know how that goes, the resurfacing of the baseball field. We gotta every 5 years or something, we put them on it, or how does that?
We would have to keep it in the list, yes.
Is it on the list now? Is it on the list now?
Nope.
That's why I said, this list is for you guys to add everything you want to it.
Yeah.
When it gets done,
we'll trigger that in the,
Right.
how old.
That money comes from the city or come from the
grant
grant?
and everything else.
Grants and everything.
I assumed that everything that we had to, the resurfacing of the courts and all that was already gonna be on there, that we have to do periodically, so like, absolutely, we'll put the baseball field on there.
That goes under athletic area renovation.
Athletic area.
So,
Anything we have existing that has to be resurfaced
Remember,
should
we're
be
in
on.
a 10-year plan, and we're already 2 years into that plan, and we don't have the plan approved, so.
So the plan's very
Do I
important.
hear a motion for the resurface of baseball field?
Is that the only item that's not on here currently, that, of things that we have existing that we'd have to maintain?
The tennis court.
Tennis
Is that
court.
there?
Tennis court's
Yeah,
there,
tennis court,
it's
yeah.
there already.
So now you have the tennis courts to include the pickleball,
Right.
area. Resurfacing of the baseball field
And what
And
about
the
the
basketball
basketball?
courts.
and basketball.
We have
What about at Cooper Park, the trail that's falling apart, needs to be redone?
Yeah, the trail, it has to be included again.
Do something,
Yeah, anything that has to be
Wasn't that done that long
periodically.
ago?
It was actually, time flies when you're having fun, but that was done 10 years ago.
Wow.
Which one?
the trail at
in
Cooper.
Park.
Yeah.
So we need a motion to add all these?
To add, okay.
Baseball field, Cooper Park Trail, basketball court, tennis courts,
Motion.
And
Second.
pickleball.
and the pickleball on the tennis court.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Item pass.
Next item, Madam Clerk.
I don't know where it is.
Good of the order.
Good of the order.
Good of the order. And question, next meeting, would you like to meet again?
What would be any pressing issues that we have?
I would say, just the revised list,
Right.
if you could meet up before that,
Before the holidays?
December meeting.
Can we wait for that date to find out when your friend is in town,
Yeah, the fitness
Madam
equipment.
Manager?
Yes, I have to get back on Annalise because she's out of town
But
and
try to
see.
target the first meeting in December.
Sounds good.
December 7th?
We'll target that and then
That would
hopefully,
jump into the comp plan.
we'll target that and hopefully that her friend could be here that night.
That would be
Okay,
great.
December
We can have that.
Can I have a
ready.
question?
Now we can Zoom.
How many of these projects approximately they stay approved or give money for it?
We've usually gotten approved on everything that we submitted.
Yeah, we've been very, very lucky
They
with
do.
PERDAP.
We only had
So-
1 year that they denied the
So if-
project,
if-
but there was a.
If we give them
Yeah.
10 projects, we'll get money out of it?
No,
No, we applied one per year.
one per year.
Okay.
But,
So we get,
So
but
it's only one per year?
But we-
That's
No, no,
okay.
we
One
can
small
apply-
project per year,
Correct.
and at times we have been funded simultaneously for a large project.
that's what Ruano.
But that's where the match comes in.
Right.
We have to find match.
That's why we go with the 50,000, because Ruano says those are the ones that we get.
Exactly, those are the easy ones because we score very well and all these meetings help us score even
Okay,
better.
That's what I wanna go back now, like the baseball field resurfacing, the tennis court resurfacing, that's something that needs to be done private, I mean, shouldn't be included on this project, but then if there is one project per year, and we have like 10 projects now, we'll never get those done. I mean,
No, it's not one project per year. Out of the list, depending on how much money's available, you could either go for $100,000
Or
grant.
200,000.
And the city puts in the other 100, or you could go for a 75 or 100,000 or 50. It all depends on what's available from us to be able to.
match.
And we have impact fees potentially coming in. There's different revenue sources, including, this year is a year of a lot of governmental change, a lot of new offices with the new budgets. So there's opportunities there to have other governments help match our funds. So there's different sources of revenue we can pull from. But we tend to be pretty good with grants.
Yep.
Anything else for good of the order?
John, you had something?
Motion to adjourn?
second.
Shane, do we have a motion to adjourn?
7:20.
Anyone?
Motion.
All right, meeting
Motion.
adjourned.
So now, yeah.